I've got to keep reminding myself, we asked for different. This is different. Different is good.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Darrell Dappridge, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us today, and we'll talk about Auburn heading to Missouri for some basketball action later tonight. The spring game is back. That's exciting. One of the new, or I guess vintagey things about college football coming back, which is nice. Darrell, there's been so many additions, and there will continue to be. I mean, I still think we got a ways to go before this roster is finalized. These additions do feel different than they did a year ago, and maybe even 2 years ago. And the gut reaction in me is, I think the additions in the previous off seasons made more sense. But then I have to stop and say, we did ask for this. We did ask for change. And if you look at each of these individual additions, I do think they all make sense individually. There just hasn't been, with the exception of Byrum Brown and maybe Keyshawn Singleton, there hasn't been that ground shaking, altering move. And it doesn't really seem like it's coming. There's been some talk about, maybe getting an elite edge guy or whatever, but that'd be awesome. Goodness, that would change your roster. But I have to keep reminding myself of, we asked for a different approach. We're getting a different approach, and this approach does seem more sustainable over the long term. And we just got to trust that Golesh and the staff are getting guys that fit a system, not necessarily getting the highest ranked guy at their specific positions.
Well, that's good. Let's have some dialogue on this. I want to push back a little bit. First of all, I would say that Washington at running back is a pretty high-level move. I just, again, go look at his stats, go look at his film, and he could be running back one at a lot of schools, in the SEC. To get a back like that to split carries with Cobb, I think is very, very high level. Okay, the second thing.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not dissing the class. I'm saying it's different. So I'm not I'm not belittling these additions by any stretch of the imagination. I do think it's different. My thought on that is, you've got to, I think the offensive line needs to take a step forward before I'm getting really jazzed about a back when we already had, I think, pretty solid backs. And on my wish list, when we went into this, I said, I think I had, the desire to get a running back. Was it on the Christmas show that we did of things we wanted for Christmas, maybe? That was one of mine. And I'm fascinated to see how he and Cobb work together. I'm excited about that. I'm certainly excited about that. But my thing with running back is okay, running back is good. And, most teams have a good running back now. It's just, does it work behind this offensive line? And it's too early to tell.
Everything we talked about, or everything that we could speculate on, is all a crapshoot anyway, because it's what it looks like on paper.
That's correct.
Are these questions getting answered on paper? Proof of concept is where we find it. And I think the last 2 years, point to me specific examples where you felt more jazzed or more excited, or felt like Auburn went into the portal and got that difference maker, that guy that you felt like was going to change. Maybe Singleton at receiver last year made me feel that way from Georgia Tech. Were the quarterbacks, Thorne, Arnold, that guy that you felt like? Were there any offensive linemen? I thought Chaplin was. I thought he was going to be the answer to the left tackle problem.
I think there's been several offensive linemen. We've kind of had that during the Freeze era. Chaplin, I mean, we were wrong, but Percy Lewis, we were all excited about Percy Lewis.
Yeah,
I wasn't as excited about Mason Murphy as others, but the general consensus, Mason Murphy was considered a pretty big offseason win.
So to me, what I see is the sum of the parts of this class make it greater than some of the individual names that Auburn's had in the past. That's where I'm optimistic towards seeing that proof of concept. And I also don't feel like they're done. So I think there's going to be probably 7 or 8 more guys that they go after with some of the positions you talked about, edge, interior defensive line, offensive line still. There's talk of a receiver, going after a receiver, all those things. I think when that in its totality presents itself, it's going to look like, again, the sum of the parts are going to be greater than some of the maybe individual high-level names like we thought with Chaplin and Singleton, Eric Singleton, and some of those other guys. We'll never know, because the last 3 years I allowed myself, every time Auburn got players in the portal, I really got so hyped and excited and felt like answers to certain things. And let's be honest, they missed on more than they hit. That's just the truth of the last.
Or did they just not know how to use them, right? Like, I don't think the guys were inherently not talented and not good at football players. In fact, I think a lot of these guys are going to go elsewhere and be good. Like,
and let me rephrase that. They hit more on the defensive side of the ball than they did a lot of the defensive additions. Auburn really did benefit from the Xavier Atkins, the McLeods, the Crawford, some of those guys they did hit on. Yeah. From a secondary standpoint, you can make the argument that even Thompson from Texas was a really good safety for Auburn. People don't realize that.
No, for sure. Rayshawn Pleasant last year. Yeah, no, they've added guys for sure. Absolutely. And so we just have to assume, because there is no, you just brought it up, there is no proof of concept yet because they can't play. And spoiler, they won't play football for a long time.
They won't. Do you feel like, though,
8 or 9 months away?
The other thing I like about it is the cohesiveness of a lot of guys coming from a particular program that know the system from this head coach. Instead of piecemealing stuff like a nice quilt, you've got a bunch of guys coming from one program that know each other, know the system, and know the head coach. I think that is going to help with cohesiveness and maybe culture. Instead of piecemeal and, hey, let's get this guy, let's get this, all different programs to a new system, to a new terminology. This is going to be different. There's going to be a familiar feel to this team and a comfort level with this coach and its other players I think might help accelerate the culture process.
Yeah, it's going to be a brand new team. So I think as soon as those expectations are laid out, I think it's going to be there. And then culturally, defensively, I think you're fine. And so can you revamp the offense from where it has been? And the answer to that, I think, is yes. So then it turns into, like, how good is this scheme? Because I think that's what we're all just kind of assuming. And I think it's a fair thing to assume Alex Golesh's scheme and his play calling and his offense, which he won't be calling plays this year, it doesn't sound like, but still his offenses have been elite everywhere he's been. And so how quick does that translate with guys that he already has a relationship with? That's exciting. Once again, I want to be very clear. I'm not dissing this staff, but I have to keep reminding myself that this is a totally different process than what we saw with the rebuild of Harsin and the attempted rebuild of Harsin and the attempted rebuild of Hugh Freeze. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I was just going to say, and what you just said is actually a good thing, because the other two, let's be honest, didn't work.
Now, here's one thing that I don't love is happening. And I don't think it's Auburn's fault. I think some of this is national media's fault. But the comparing of, Cignetti is winning at Indiana with a bunch of transfers that he brought from James Madison, and, they're all a bunch of former 3-stars. That is the exception, not the rule. Now, as the transfer portal and NIL in this era expands, if we see more of that and Golesh kind of gets in there with that and all, like, that'd be great. It'd be great to have more examples than that. But as of right now, I don't think you can point to what he's done at Indiana and tie it to Auburn yet, anyway. And also like a big chunk of their guys, like, that is an old roster. Early on in the portal, that was not this staff's goal. You get old guys. They went young early. In fact, it seems like pretty much the whole team, the core of the team right now, is like rising sophomores, which I don't have a problem with, because I want to win now, but I definitely want to win in the future. And that seems to be the model. So, like, I don't love that we're comparing it to Kirk Cignetti in Indiana, but they're the flavor of the month right now because they're historically good.
Excellent point. Cignetti is really elite at being a talent evaluator. And I think Golesh has to prove that he's to that level yet, as far as the level of evaluating somebody. And the second thing is, for all the people that want to talk about how the Big Ten has now, basically surpassed the SEC as being the power. When Cignetti went into the Big Ten 2 years ago, it's not the gauntlet that the SEC is right now. Sure, they've got somebody in the college football playoff championship, but look how many people went to the playoffs from the SEC. Look at that league top to bottom. It's different when you got to play that week in, week out, and how it beats you down, how they beat each other up. So that's the other thing to consider too, is you're talking about apples and oranges.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll see how all that develops. The spring game is back, which I think opens up some pretty cool opportunities for all of these new guys that we can't wait to see. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. It doesn't matter if it's for football, basketball, baseball, the theater, concert, comedy show. If you need tickets for an event, Game Time has you covered with college basketball tickets all season long. Game Time gives advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing deals and experiences in just a few taps. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Kia Autosport of Columbus. Look, don't overthink this, people. Buying a car is a big decision. It's a big decision. You want to make sure the people that you are dealing with, you can trust and have your interests at heart. The friends at Kia Autosport of Columbus, they can do just that. Go browse our inventory online today, KiaAutosportColumbus.com, or go see them in person. Of course, in Columbus, right off of Whittlesey Boulevard. Mention the show. Hey, heard about you guys on Locked On Auburn. That'll save you some money. Also ask about their Tires for Life stuff. I don't know how they make money off of that. It's unbelievable. Whatever. Once again, KiaAutosportColumbus.com, or visit them in person right off of Whittlesey Boulevard in Columbus, Georgia. I'm Zac Blackerby. He's Darrell Dappridge, the Montgomery radio legend himself. The spring game is back. A-Day has returned. Yes, there was some kind of organized thing last year, but it was a joke. It was a joke, Darrell. It was some sort of, open practice. And then all the good stuff they did on the side away from where fans could sit. And there's no way that was not intentional. I'm excited this is back. That announcement went out yesterday, and it seems like, that's a unanimously exciting thing across the fan base.
Yeah, last year we did a show, and I bemoaned it, right? I was upset. I'm like, why are they taking this away from the fans? I made the argument that some families only go over to Jordan-Hare and experience the game day atmosphere during spring the spring game. And it's become a kind of a rite of passage of spring. The announcement is they're going to have a Tiger Walk. The band's going to be there. It's going to be a regular game format. This is what needs to happen. There have been so many things, Zach, that have been taken away from, like you said, the vintage aspect of college football in the day and age that we're in. It just keeps getting stripped down and taken away from the fan. This is one that I really like, because it gives you a little bit of it quenches your thirst for football and gives you the halfway point right before it starts.
Yeah, I call it the oasis. The oasis in the off season. Yeah.
And remember, Auburn got to see Cam Newton, although it was a watered down version, still got to see him in the spring game. We never got to see a Jackson Arnold and Peyton Thorne play their initial years in the spring game because of injuries or when they arrived on campus. So maybe Byrum Brown will play a quarter, and you'll really get to see there's a lot of new faces. We just went into the first segment. A lot of new faces on this roster. This is an opportunity for the fan base to get familiar with and get to know the coaching staff, which is new, and the players, which are new. And what better way to do that? It also, to me, represents enthusiasm for the program. Like when you see 50,000 people, 60,000 people show up for the A-Day game, it's that enthusiasm of a new era. And that's what I want to see. And I want that environment back. And I'm extremely happy that they're doing it and making a big deal about it. I mean, it's game day type scenario.
Yeah. I also think it's good for the players too. I mean, so many of these guys don't know Auburn, right? Like they've seen videos and they've heard about it. Maybe they've played here, But I think it's a good two-way street. Like, look around, like, who are you playing for? Like, these are all the people you're like, because if you're at A-Day, those are the diehards, right? Those are the people
Absolutely.
that love to cheer for you. So I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. As far as like what it means from a football standpoint, like you always like to see people who, maybe they're having an okay practice, but then at A-Day in front of people where it feels like the ante is raised just a little bit, who steps forward, who takes advantage of those opportunities. But all in all, I'm excited for this. You're obviously excited for this. And if you're listening to a daily Auburn show, I assume you're excited for it. It's just more Auburn football, which is good. And with no spring portal, that is a double-edged sword because, okay, you don't have to worry about other coaches stealing your players, which was a common concern. The other side of it, though, is are you more timid or safe, conservative during the spring? Because if somebody gets hurt, you can't replace them, as soon as spring practice is done.
Always been that way. That's why we talked about having a watered down version of Cam Newton. It'll be really basic. You don't want to get anybody hurt. You want to limit people's snaps, but just enough to show the general public what that person is and get an introduction. Really looking forward. There's so many young guys like you talked about on this roster. This is their opportunity for some of the young receivers, not the Kogers and Singleton, but Nimrod and the other one that's Neptune. Give them an opportunity to catch some balls. Sam Turner, Duke Smith. That's what I want to see, right? Maybe the freshman quarterback from USF as well as Tia. Give them some snaps and give them some opportunity. So it's really the total package. And as long as it's not crappy weather like it was Freeze's first year. Oh, right. Where you ran it a lot with Robbie Ashford, and I think it was Field Goal Central that year. Maybe Towns Magoo year was the year after. But anyway, right. It's it'll hopefully nice weather, big turnout, and people get that game day feeling again.
Mm-hmm. No, that'd be good. That'd be good. Auburn heads to Mizzou later today, and a game that I think could really help Auburn kind of get back on track. They should win this one. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. If you made it this far into the show, would encourage you to join the Everydayer Club. If you haven't checked it out already, you get access to an exclusive Discord. And then for audio listeners, you get access to a podcast feed that has no ads, which is super, super cool. So go to lockedonauburn.supercast.com to sign up for that today. It also supports the show, full transparency. And we would really, really appreciate that. So Auburn heads to Missouri, kind of opposites of each other. Mizzou started out SEC play red hot. They beat Kentucky. They beat Florida. They struggled this past weekend against Ole Miss despite a hot start. Auburn, 2 heartbreaking losses, and then obviously, absolutely obliterated Arkansas over the weekend. Now Auburn heads to Missouri in a game where I think all eyes in the conference will be on Keyshawn Hall. Can he keep this tremendous run going? He's scored 30 in back-to-back games. Do we see Tahad Pettiford, since it's a game away from Neville Arena? Do we see, more of what we've seen glimpses of this Auburn team putting it all together? Mizzou, not very good defensively. Auburn should be able to score, but it's on the road, and there's so many unknowns in this conference right now, Darrell.
Columbia, a tough place traditionally to win. Missouri comes in 2-1, big win at Rupp over Kentucky. They beat Florida in Columbia, Missouri, and then they lost last Saturday on the road. Again, very surprised that this ESPN BPI indicators got Auburn favored, which on the road, I think that win Saturday is fuel for that. I think that the experts feel like there's some things that got figured out Saturday, as do I. Now, what you don't want to do is give back what you gained Saturday, right? You gained a really nice win against a top 15 team. Go out on the road, play well, snatch a road victory, get back to 2-2 in the conference, and you're right back in business. Because then you come home against South Carolina on Saturday, which winnable games. So you could get right back. I mean, we could be doing this show next week, and Auburn could be having a winning conference record, and that's pretty significant in my mind. And I think some things got figured out, and we'll see tonight if if that comes to fruition.
Yeah. Seems like there's been a pivot intentionally to make it about Keyshawn Hall. This is Keyshawn Hall's team, and it's not Keyshawn and Tahad's team. This is Keyshawn's team. Curious to see what that looks like, especially with how well Tahad plays on the road typically. As far as other things I want to see, like let's see how healthy Jovic is going into this. There was questions on if he would even play against Arkansas. He only played 12-ish minutes, Darrell, and he looked pretty good in that span. Want to see what he does, especially defensively. And then also Keyshawn Murphy has looked better over the last week or two.
He's figuring it out. He's figuring it out,
especially on the defensive side of things. I would say that I don't love how many threes he's shooting, but he's making them. So I'm not going to say that.
Blake coming off the bench in an 8-man rotation is very intriguing to me. Is he going to continue to get 10 to 12 minutes a game, be a distributor of the basketball, help with the flow, and then, of course, be one of your better defenders? He's a pest. Does Magwood play? Does he come off the bench and be your ninth guy to get some minutes from a scoring standpoint?
And Mashalik and Magwood both play relevant minutes.
I think they can because Mashalik is capable of playing the two. And so, I would like to see Mashalik shoot the ball a little bit more. I think right now he's been pigeonholed as a defender, distributor of the basketball. He hit his only 3, made 2 free throws. Yeah. Let him try to be a little bit of an offense. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Lior Berman, but he's a better defender, and Berman was more of an offensive threat.
Agreed.
Right? So Berman could come in and I'll tell you what I'd like to see. I mean, I know defensively, I think it is Stephen Pearl's biggest fear with that, but I want to see more Simon Walker. I think the kid, even getting 6 or 7 minutes a game, can give you 6 points off the bench, hit a couple of threes. You know how they are, the momentum changers. And I want to see him. He didn't play against Arkansas until late, I think. I want to see him get some minutes, some quality minutes when the game is still, yet to be decided. See if he can hit a couple of big shots.
Yeah. I picked the score against Mizzou on yesterday's show. Be sure to check it out if you haven't. Had a nice conversation with John Miller, host of Locked On Mizzou. We talked about us kind of sending players back and forth in the portal, then obviously tonight's game. So be sure to check that out. The score I gave him was, I think it was 86 to 80 or 76 to 70. It was one of those. I have us winning by 6.
I've got us winning 82-78.
Okay. So a little bit more, which would be nice.
I think Auburn will win by 4, and I think Auburn will get over the 80-point threshold because, like you talked about, with defense. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, so we both got Auburn winning tonight, and of course, we will be live right after the action. So be sure you're subscribed both on YouTube and audio. Helps the show out a ton. Darrell Dappridge, how can people check out more Darrell Dappridge, or where can they find you?
See you tonight, first of all, and then obviously Friday, Locked on Auburn, Sunday, the Barncast, 8 p.m. live, where you get your podcast, and on YouTube.
Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.